I demanded an explanation, my voice sharp with frustration, as I pointed to the 3 enormous cardboard boxes cluttering our room. The contents, posters and merchandise plastered with my sister-in-law's girl group logo, were scattered all over. Instead of responding, my husband knelt by the boxes, his hands lovingly caressing the glossy posters and branded items as though they were priceless treasures. My patience running thin, I pressed him again, asking how he could possibly justify such a ridiculous expenditure. His answer left me stunned. "I sold your house for $360,000 and used the money to help my sister." For a moment, I thought I misheard him. "What did you do?" I screamed, my hands shaking in disbelief. The house my late parents had left me, the home I had poured my heart and soul into renovating, was gone. As my world came crashing down, his cold laugh filled the room. "So what? It's for family," he shrugged nonchalantly. "I'm Riley Bennett, and I've been married to my 30-year-old husband, Walker, for nearly 8 years. We don't have children, and the only family I have left is my husband. My parents passed away when I was 18 in a car accident, and I've never been close to my extended relatives. I was left completely alone. My social anxiety made forming connections difficult, and I had no one to turn to. I spent most of my time crying in the empty house. Then I met Walker. He was 5 years older than me and approached me while I was walking down the street, attempting to flirt. He was charming, friendly, and full of life. I was still deep in grief, and rather than recognizing the red flags, I was swept up in his cheerfulness. We started dating, and eventually, I married him. Looking back, I deeply regret it. Walker calls himself the breadwinner, but from where I stand, he's just a deadbeat. He never works hard and always falls for smooth talk, accumulating debt instead of making any real progress. He's convinced that one day he'll make it big, but that day never arrives. At least he doesn't drink or become violent, which is the only positive thing I can say about him. I'm the one who covers most of our living expenses, and we're barely getting by on my part-time cashier job. So, of course, we often borrow money from his parents. They know all too well the situation with their son, and they've always treated me like their own daughter, which means a lot to me since I no longer have my family. Initially, my in-laws would give the money directly to Walker, but he'd gamble it away in no time. So now, they give it to me. They're not wealthy, but they're comfortable enough. Even so, I find it incredibly difficult to rely on them for support. It's against my nature, and it feels unacceptable. I've tried reasoning with my husband countless times. "It may be hard to get a full-time job, but I need you to work," I pleaded. He'd just laugh it off. No matter how much I yelled or argued, it never got through to him. Eventually, I gave up, resigning myself to the idea that I'd likely end up divorcing him. But then I'd hesitate, knowing how much it would hurt my in-laws. So I stayed, living in frustration. One morning, before I left for work, I saw Walker lounging on the couch, flipping through some pamphlet. He was reading it with a smug smile, clearly not taking it seriously. Before drifting off to sleep, this had become his daily routine. Another time, I tossed a basket of wet laundry at him, pretending to make a mistake. He didn't even flinch. He remained in his comfortable position, unfazed. No matter how many times I warned him or how often I voiced my frustration, he never changed. It was easier to avoid him and leave the house, so I did just that. Then, one day, as I was leaving, I saw a girl standing a short distance away. She looked familiar. Ariella, my husband's younger sister. I hadn't seen her in a while, but I recognized her from when she had been scouted by a talent agency. Now she was part of a girl group making waves in the media. "Ariella, what's wrong?" I called to her. She looked at me with a puzzled expression. Did I have the wrong person? Her reaction was strange, and before I could say more, she ran off without a word. Was she pretending not to know me? I decided to ask my in-laws later and went on my way. After that encounter, I began to notice a change in Walker. He had always been fixated on strange pamphlets, but now he was reading magazines aimed at young girls. Upon closer inspection, I saw Ariella's face on the covers of all of them. He had bought magazines featuring his sister. "I'm going to invest in Ariella, and I'm going to make a fortune," he declared, his voice filled with overconfidence. He joined her fan club, bought piles of merchandise, and multiple copies of her CDs. Before long, our small apartment was overflowing with her memorabilia. "Where did the money come from?" I asked, but he never answered. "Just trust me," he said before leaving again. When I told my in-laws about his behavior, they sighed, clearly resigned. Ariella was important to them, and they were pleased that Walker was supporting her. But the truth was, he wasn't supporting her. He was exploiting her success to make money for himself. My in-laws and I both knew this, but there was nothing we could do but sigh in frustration. Later, I told my in-laws about running into Ariella. They looked at me oddly. Ariella moved into a dormitory provided by her agency for her career, they explained. She relocated to a city far from here, so it's unlikely she would have come back so quickly. Even if she had returned, I doubted she would have visited Walker first. She probably knew better than to spend time with him. Was that really Ariella I had seen? The question lingered, but I decided it wasn't worth dwelling on. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease about the whole situation. A month later, I saw Ariella on TV, laughing and enjoying herself, but for some reason, I still felt a deep sense of discomfort. Then, one day, 3 large cardboard boxes arrived at our apartment, filled with more of her merchandise. Walker had returned from his trip and was excitedly showing off the contents. The chaos in our small apartment was unbearable. I asked him to explain himself. Instead of answering, my husband immediately approached the cardboard boxes and began admiring the merchandise with a strange affection, completely ignoring me. The total cost was high, and when I pressed him on how he could afford it, his reply shocked me to my core. I sold your new house for $360,000 and invested it all in my sister. Are you out of your mind? Stop joking, I snapped, feeling a mix of rage and disbelief. My parents had left me a small house and some savings, though I couldn't move back there right after marriage. It had always been a place I held dear, a potential refuge if things ever fell apart. I had spent years renovating it, using the money they left me. Now, my husband had sold that sacred space without even consulting me. I hadn't even told him much about the house. How do you know about the house? I demanded, the anger rising. What? He mumbled, irritated. I can get you the documents if you want. It's for my sister. You'd do the same, wouldn't you? Then he laughed, as if it was all a joke. What does he think emotions are worth? I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed out, my hands shaking with anger, unsure who I might lash out at. I walked until I found an empty park, far from anyone's eyes. After wandering around, I sat on an old bench, the silence helping me cool down. Then, I saw a figure near the sandbox. At first, I thought it was a child, but it was a boy, older than I expected. I recognized him, Ariella's brother. Without thinking, I ran towards him. As soon as he saw me, he tried to hurry off. Ariella, I called, and she stopped in her tracks. Her face was drained, her expression lifeless. I could tell something was wrong, the same empty look I had worn once. Her eyes were dull, her soul clearly broken. I had felt this pain before. I stepped forward, offering a hand, but she pulled away. What do you want from me? She asked, her voice raw with bitterness. I don't want anything from you, I said softly, connecting with her through my own heartache. I just want you to do something for yourself. I turned my back, hoping she would follow. After a moment, she did, walking silently behind me. We went to a nearby home improvement store, and then we made our way to the riverbank. In the cool autumn evening, the area was empty, peaceful. I heated water on a small stove I had brought without saying a word to Ariella. She sat quietly, staring at the flame. As the water boiled, I made instant noodles. We ate in silence, but I could see the tears on her face as she tried to hide her emotions. This is where we used to camp, I murmured, breaking the silence. Back when you were younger, before everything changed. That was years ago, long before I got married, I continued. You used to look up to me, like an older sister. The memory seemed to stir something in her, and she quietly sobbed as the sun dipped below the horizon. The autumn night grew colder, and I quickly built a fire, gathering stones and dry branches. The warmth from the flames offered a small comfort as we sat shoulder to shoulder. Ariella had been through so much, her life in the city suffocating her. She wasn't a person anymore, she was a product, an object to be marketed and sold. She had been forced to suppress her true self, hiding behind a fake smile while the weight of her pain grew heavier each day. She told me she couldn't open up to her parents, afraid of burdening them. I thought about coming to you, she whispered, her voice trembling, but I was afraid that if I did, everything inside me would just break. Her words hit me hard. I understood that fear, the fear of letting it all out, of falling apart. Without saying anything, I pulled her into an embrace. She melted into my arms, her sobs slowly subsiding. As the fire flickered, she gave me a faint smile. They say people can't lie around a fire, and maybe that's why I found myself admitting, my husband sold my house. Ariella's face fell in shock. She apologized over and over. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, I said gently, Though part of me regretted bringing it up, that house had been a place of memories, and now it was gone. What do I do now? I wondered aloud. Ariella's eyes lifted, her resolve hardening. I'll help, she said firmly. That night, I took her to my in-laws' house, then returned to my apartment. My husband was still awake. The sale contract for your house is final, he said, as if it were a trivial matter. I fought to hold back my anger, responding dryly, do whatever you want. Inside, I almost laughed at the absurdity of it all. Over the following months, his outbursts grew more frequent, but I slowly started distancing myself. 6 months later, my husband joined a national tour with the girl group that Ariella was part of. Life on my own felt unexpectedly freeing. One spring day, I came home to find a scene unfolding outside. My husband was waving his phone around, visibly upset. It's over, he shouted. Ariella left the group. The news was all over the internet. His scheme to profit off of her career had fallen apart. How much money did you waste on this? I asked, stepping closer. He told me the staggering amount, and though I was furious, I kept my cool. There was no point in making a scene. I turned to walk away, but he tried to stop me. Our apartment is that way, he said, looking confused as I headed in the opposite direction. I live in a townhouse now, I said, smiling. His face turned pale. What? Our apartment's over there. No, I replied calmly. Ariella bought the townhouse for me. We've already moved. His confusion deepened. What do you mean? Ariella worked hard to make things right, I continued. She even hired a lawyer to handle the divorce and settle your debts. Don't make decisions without me, he shouted, but I stood firm. You'll get all the paperwork you need, I said, ending the conversation. In the end, I regained my house. The sale had been illegal, and the buyer sued my husband, resulting in his arrest. Overwhelmed with debt, he filed for bankruptcy. After serving his sentence, my in-laws, despite their efforts to support him, stopped helping him, respecting Ariella's decision. Ariella used her earnings to fund my legal battles and gave me the townhouse. She's since left the entertainment industry and is studying in Canada, rebuilding her life. As for me, I sold the townhouse, paid off all the debts, and returned to my home. It's a place filled with memories. And finally, I'm at peace. Though I'm no longer part of the Bennett family, Ariella and my in-laws treat me as one of their own. My house is my sanctuary, and I'm determined to live each day with gratitude. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Stay amazed.